Good afternoon. Getting right down to business here, right after Guy Benson now at 3 o'clock and 790 KBC. And all this before the 790 KBC News Blitz with Randy Wang at 5. It's Mottek On Money, live on the air on 790 KBC, streaming live online worldwide at KBC.com. And the on-demand Mottek On Money podcast, KBC.com, Apple, iTunes, YouTube, all your favorite podcast platforms. Of course, focusing on the Southern California firestorm disaster again this afternoon. Stay with 790 KBC for the very latest on the ongoing disaster here in Southern California and the aftermath, the ongoing wind and fire watch heading into this evening once again. Coming up in just a moment, I'll be joined by TRACY Hernandez, the founding CEO of the largest business organization in the state here of California, the Los Angeles Business Federation, LA BizFed, which brings together nearly 250 business organizations representing about 420,000 employers with 5 million employees all across Southern California. TRACY Hernandez will be joining us live on the air here shortly. The homeless situation here in Los Angeles has only gotten worse now in this latest disaster, with thousands of homes burned to the ground in Pacific Palisades and in the Altadena, Pasadena area, as well as the other areas affected by the firestorms. In addition to homes lost, thousands of people have now lost their source of income because businesses have been wiped out. The Union Rescue Mission in Los Angeles, the number one homeless organization helping the homeless in L.A., now working to help the homeless here and organizing efforts to help the fire victims as well. I'll discuss that later this hour with Richard Baker, the president of the Union Rescue Mission. Thousands of cars have been destroyed in the L.A. area firestorms over the past week or so now. Many cars were chaotically abandoned, left behind on the streets, got pushed away by bulldozers in some cases, and many were absolutely incinerated, some on car lots as well. Insurance companies overwhelmed in all this. I'll discuss that part of the story this afternoon with our car expert Lauren Fix, editor-in-chief of Car Coach and the co-host of the Total Car Score podcast. Major stock market averages closing lower today. We did see a powerful rally the day before. Falling bond yields helped that, and amid encouraging signs on the inflation front, the Dow coming in for a closing loss today of 68 points, settling at 43,153. The S&P 500 down 12.5, and the Nasdaq gave back 173 points. Shares of Apple and Tesla both moving lower by more than 3%, even as the yield in the 10-year note saw a 3-session decline. And that's good news for the real estate business. The yield on the 10-year note is back down to 4.61%, retreating from the highest we've seen in about a year, 4.80%, which we saw on Monday. President Trump's pick for Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent spoke approvingly of using tariffs to address what he called unfair trade practices and to raise revenue for the federal budget. The inauguration of President Trump is set for Monday, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, by the way. The markets will be closed on Monday. Focusing now on the disaster here in Southern California. Joining us live now, TRACY Hernandez, founding CEO of the Los Angeles Business Federation, LA BizFed, which has been strengthening the voice of business here in Los Angeles for decades. TRACY Hernandez, thank you very much for taking the call here this afternoon.
Good afternoon, Frank. I'm glad to be with you.
Thank you very much, and hope you and your family are well in this epic disaster here, and certainly all the members of the Los Angeles Business Federation facing the unprecedented situation here. Give us your view of this epic disaster we've seen unfold here over the past week or so now.
Yes, it's just heart-wrenching and devastating. You ask about me personally. I do live in Los Angeles and had one of the fires come within 2 blocks on evacuation, so I felt it personally. And when you're faced with having to, in a few minutes' time, decide the few things you're going to get out of your house and think about looking back and know it may be burned to the ground and everything gone, it's very scary and surreal. And we've had so many of our business friends, colleagues, members that have lost everything, where they left and then came back to nothing. So it is intense, the fact of how long it's going, how scary the winds still are, but we are rallying for each other in ways, of course, Angelenos know how to do.
On the air live with TRACY Hernandez, founding CEO of the Los Angeles Business Federation. We've been talking for decades. I'm so sorry to hear you had that harrowing experience. And That hectic, chaotic evacuation of parts of the valley last weekend was unbelievable with the traffic jams there, with the fire coming across the mountain there and then heading into Brentwood and the Mandeville Canyon area, and, of course, the absolute devastation there in Pacific Palisades, all the iconic places lost, the beautiful coastline devastated, and the Altadena-Pasadena area there, the Eaton fire, total devastation there, and, of course, all the other areas. Sylmar also affected, and right down the line. What are you hearing from, I don't know where to start, Tracy. Maybe you can guide us through here. What are you hearing from those who've been most affected by this tragedy?
Right. So what we're doing first is, we have to communicate everything that's known and help those that need information. And so we have already stood up the LA Fires Recovery Policy Task Force. And so we have a way, literally hundreds and hundreds of impacted people. So whether it's their own personal home, it's their business property, maybe they had a home business, or they're a concerned citizen, or they're have the ability to lead in with our government officials and economic development leaders. It might be fire and safety, water, and so on. So we are running the LA Fires Recovery Policy Task Force, and it happens now. It's been daily, but we're going to an every Friday morning review. Everyone can come in quickly and share fast-moving intel. We're a part of Together for LA, and I want to put that out to folks because everyone can go there. It's a free service, and it's on a website. And the website is, you go to LAEDC, so the LA Economic Development Corporation, our great leading partner and enterprise in the city, LAEDC/Together for LA. So LAEDC/Together for LA. And that is gathering up all the real-time resources to get help, to get immediate funding and resources, to get access to all the levels of government, whether they're in the county, they're in the city, they're state, they're agencies, it's building and safety, fire, public safety, you name it. It's all organized there. And you can then quick find out what you need to know, where to go, how to get help. The other thing, of course, is dealing with insurance, and we had an insurance problem before this happened, and now it's escalated. So there's information there on how to get help and reach. So I would definitely use those two resources at bizfed.org, BIZFED. So bizfed.org, we've got the LA Fires Recovery Task Force. And then the Together for LA are like the actual resources for anyone to tap into. We're, Frank, as you know, I mean, we're over 12,000 structures destroyed, and so sadly, 25 deaths and others still missing. And so, we're really trying to be at the ready with everyone who has access and information. We have been really tapped in with our elected officials, so whether it's the governor, our mayor Bass, the county board of supervisors chair Barger, with fire, with public safety, with public works, with EPA, and so on. Everyone's sharing information, and there is help to be had. I do want to flag one thing that's already happening, though. While the fires are still burning, they're not out, and people need to stay vigilant to like Fire Duty, the free app that's a nonprofit, which is so helpful. But we're already beginning with dealing with debris removal. You may have already talked about it on your program, but it's a real big deal because the debris is in some cases toxic, in other cases, huge and insurmountable and complicated. And so that's sort of on everyone's mind right now, ever present.
On the air live with TRACY Hernandez, the founding CEO of the Los Angeles Business Federation, LA BizFed, the largest business organization here in Southern California. And again, the website information, bizfed.org and laedc.org/together for LA for the very latest information on resources for businesses here. Obviously, a major mobilization of FEMA and the SBA, as we've seen it in previous disasters. What reaction are you getting from business people? What are you hearing about their initial contact with the federal help that's finally arrived here now?
It's messy. as it often is, tricky. People are earnest, though, and so every day, I'd say every hour, there's improvements being made, and people, elected officials, volunteers, nonprofits, neighbors, everyone's trying to help. But I guess we have to ask for patience, and you need to report in the problems that you have. So there are a fair amount of problems still. We're trying to keep, all the great companies, the telecoms are trying to keep the Wi-Fi working everywhere, but FEMA's experienced some problems. And sometimes whatever you're tapping into to get help, even on debris or want to return to your home that may have been destructed, how do you do that? So we're also working with a lot of resources on temporary housing. So we still have, 100,000 people displaced, and they have to go somewhere. They have to sleep somewhere. They have to take care of their kids and their family. So there's a lot of work going on with the apartment associations, with Airbnb, the short-term rentals, with the hotels. We have the LA Hotel Association. Everyone, they're working together to make short-term housing available and accessible in an affordable, or in some cases a free way for a period of time.
Looks like the homeless situation, which I'll be discussing later this hour, only getting worse in this epic disaster. That number you mentioned, that's just heartbreaking. So many people displaced in this disaster. What else is needed here at this important point here? No rain in the forecast for the foreseeable future. As you mentioned, the fires are actually still burning, not fully contained, so we are very much still in this emergency. Fortunately, the winds have died down and the smoke has cleared, but the emergency is still very much on at this point, and a very painful recovery is underway. What else is needed here, and what is your message for City Hall and the state and indeed Washington at this point?
Well, the message is that we have to work together. And I'd say right now it's ever present that the private sector, willing and able with people and resources to help our cities and our departments in the county and so on, all levels of government. So we have to have our eyes open to say, okay, for a period of time, let's go quickly. Let's set aside so many time-consuming, process-laden rules and regulations that we have set up, that we have to just set them aside for a minute and be all hands on deck. And all of our city departments most of them are understaffed. They don't have enough people, but the private sector could come in and help for a period of time, or we could do contracting to augment staffing so that even when the city mayors or the county officials or the state officials waive process and procedures so people can go quickly, we still need people there to get them through those waivers. And so we need to have all of us together, this capacity to solve problems quickly and set aside some of the big goals and aspirations and rules and regulations we've put in place for a catastrophic situation, and get out of the way of that so that we can collectively get through this. And also the other thing is people have to have patience. This is going to take a while, and sometimes when people have been so generous, we've had so many of our companies in BizFed give millions and millions of dollars already to help with the disaster, and we're grateful and thankful for that. But we also, Frank, I would encourage people is to not lose sight of it as soon as our great firefighting services get the fires out and the winds die down. Don't go away. Don't lose sight. Don't lose perspective. That's when actually a substantial amount of work and discipline over the months and years it will take for us to do this. So that's my call to it, is that we need to utilize all help possible to help the government agencies get done what they need to do. There's a ton of water and power and roads infrastructure and flood control and all of that needs attention. So you mentioned rain. We do need obviously, we need some rain. I think the soil is like the driest it's been, in, 100 years or something. And then the statistics are really bad, not just the rainfall, but the soil, because there's been so little rain. We do need rain. We're going to welcome it when it comes. However, If we get too much rain in these fire burn areas, we will then have mudslides and we will have debris and we will have other catastrophic problems. So I know, like Mark Pestrella, the public works head in LA County and runs flood control, for example. You watch everyone on the press conferences in the morning. They're doing a great job. But we have to be thinking ahead for when we do get rains, and then when the ground is fragile and moving, and then mud and slides, debris, we'll have to be ready to handle that, not be caught off guard.
On the air live with TRACY Hernandez, the founding CEO of the Los Angeles Business Federation, LA BizFed, at bizfed.org. And certainly, TRACY Hernandez, businesses have been expressing tremendous gratitude for the first responders, the firefighters from all over the place now that are here, as well as our local firefighters and the police, of course, the sheriff's deputies, and everyone involved in this Herculean effort at this point. It's certainly heartwarming to see so many positive stories in all this as businesses honor the first responders. I saw Rick Caruso posting something on Instagram today, for example, out there personally thanking the firefighters there in the Palisades, and other businesses, of course, doing whatever they can to help the fire victims, as well as honoring and thanking the first responders. Have you been seeing that as well out there?
Oh, it's tremendous. And you look at so yes, first person, first hand in many reports. So LAPD, Chief McDonald, along with County Sheriff Luna and the police, the fire chiefs as well, just outstanding. The crews, the amount of people that we elevated and activated so quickly here, and those that came in from other counties and other states and really even other countries, we're extremely grateful for FEMA also saying they'll give 100% help for 6 months. I think we're probably going to need it more like for a year, but we'll take it. It's all helpful. But the first responders, I can speak first person, that after the Palisades fire started and the Eaton fire and our first responders were out dealing with that, I was literally in a meeting, and the Kenneth fire popped up in West Hills, and it was boom, it pops up, it's 50 acres. I'm in this meeting. They're like, Tracy, there's fire by your house. I have to credit the first responders that they got fire tanks because they got the big fire planes up in the air and the firefighters on the ground, and then public safety and LAPD. Everyone moved so quickly on that. It was, as you followed it, it went to 1,000 acres in like an hour and a half. It was super scary, and it was in a very urban area and moving, and they got it under control. We did get a little help from the break of the winds shifting at that time too. But every other fire, as you mentioned, Sylmar and even Santa Clarita and other ones that popped up, they're squelching them so quickly that they're saving lives and saving structures in our community. And then, of course, on ground zero in the Palisades and up in Altadena and so on, they're doing heroic things. And now, of course, we need to stand by them too as they do the horrible work of finding people that have been reported missing, and hopefully they find them alive and well, but they are finding some that have passed away and then dealing with the families. So our first responders are second to none, just top notch in LA and the county.
TRACY Hernandez, anything else that you'd like to mention as we wrap things up here? And thank you for your time this afternoon addressing the business community this afternoon here. Maybe give that website information again and the other small business support and recovery resources to help everyone here in this disaster situation.
Right, absolutely, Frank. So you can go to bizfed.org and you can just put in information for general contact. We'll connect you to the LA Fire Recovery Task Force that is happening every single week dealing with all the policies. But on the immediate aid, if you need immediate aid, that site is laedc.org/together4LA. And you'll get every real-time resource, and including immediate grants for housing and business and shelter. So those are two really important resources.
TRACY, thank you very much. We wish you and the entire business community all the best getting through this epic disaster here. We'll keep an open line to you and and look forward to your updates as we all get through this here. We wish you and your family all the best, and everyone at BizFed. Tracy Hernandez, the founding CEO of the Los Angeles Business Federation, LA BizFed, which has been strengthening the voice of business for decades here in the Los Angeles area, the largest business organization here in Southern California and indeed the entire state. Thank you very much for joining us live here this afternoon.
Thanks, Frank. Thanks for all you're doing for our community.
Thank you very much. Coming up, we will recap the day on Wall Street as we continue to monitor what's happening here on Main Street, Southern California. Let's get out to the freeways now here on 790 KABC. Mottek On Money continues here on 790 KABC. Stay with 790 KABC for the very latest on the fire disaster here in Los Angeles. Coming up, I'll be speaking live to the president of the Union Rescue Mission. Richard Baker will be joining me live later this hour. And also Lauren Fix on all those cars that were destroyed in the epic fire disaster. She'll be joining me live here as well. SpaceX launching its huge Super Heavy Starship mega rocket on its 7th test flight today, successfully catching the first stage booster back at its firing stand in Texas, but losing its new generation Starship upper stage spacecraft, which apparently broke up as it was reaching space. Telemetry from the spaceship, the Starship that is, froze 8 minutes, about 8 minutes into the flight after launch following unexpected engine shutdowns or failures. SpaceX later confirming the ship's destruction in a posting on X just a short time ago. It was a letdown instead of liftoff on Wall Street today, with the Dow closing down 68 points, the S&P 500 down 13, the NASDAQ down 173 following yesterday's impressive rally. The volatility index did move higher today by 3%. Gold right now hovering at $2,744.70 an ounce. Crude oil futures pulling back below $80 once again. Right now hovering at $78.78 an ounce, or barrel, I should say. Gold at $2,744 and change an ounce. United Health stock today down more than $32 at $5.10 and change. Dexcom among the winners today at more than $4 at $84 and change. Taking a look at the cryptos now, Bitcoin at the moment down about 100 at 100,205. Ethereum down nearly 4 at 3,314. And Doge at the moment at 37 cents. And now the latest news here on 790 KABC. Mottek On Money continues here in 790 KABC. Heartbreaking scenes of destruction pretty much everywhere you look in the Palisades, as well as in the Altadena, Pasadena area, as well as the other areas impacted by the firestorms over the past week or so. Thousands of cars have been destroyed in the Los Angeles area over the past week or so. Now many cars were abandoned, left behind on the streets, got moved away by bulldozers. Many were incinerated in the firestorms. Insurance companies, of course, now overwhelmed in all this as people try to deal with the aftermath of this major disaster. Let's bring in Lauren Fix now, editor-in-chief of Car Coach and the co-host of the Total Car Score podcast. Horrific scenes of destruction in this deadly catastrophe here. Lauren, thank you very much for taking the call this afternoon.
No problem. Yeah, this is a lot more than meets the eye. I think obviously the fires are horrible, and people have lost their homes. I have friends that have lost their homes and their cars and everything that they own. But there's more to what this is going to happen. I mean, we're looking at not just the environment and the cars and the homes and the electric vehicles that have burned up polluting, but we also know that on the rebuilding side, everyone's car insurance across the entire nation is going to increase dramatically. It could be a lot more than we think. We've already had an increase in insurance rates in the past 2 years. In some states, especially California, up 48%. I'm expecting it to increase again, and it's going to impact everyone, whether you live in the fire areas or not. And this is just part of the damage, and trying to get your home back together and sorting things out with or without insurance is going to be pretty expensive.
A lot of electric cars burned, and looks like a lot of people are revisiting the idea of electric. We see diesel-powered generators powering the electric generators, trying to get the power to the electric vehicles now. This is probably the most cars ever lost in a single disaster, it looks like to me at the moment.
I believe that's true. I mean, even with all the flooding and things that we've had, we won't get a count on that for a while. I know when we had Hurricane Katrina and Rita, we lost about 650,000 cars. Most of those cars were destroyed. I've gut feeling we're talking way more than that. Just looking at the destruction that I've seen is unfathomable. It's horrendous. And as far as the electric vehicles, getting them charged is a problem because the first thing PG&E did was shut down the power. Now,
Yeah.
I don't know exactly where they shut it down, but if you have an electric vehicle and you were charging, hoping to put your items into your electric car, which is what Gavin Newsom wants, you were unable to escape. And many people, I have a friend who left his Tesla in the garage and took his old minivan because he's able to put more things in it. And he said it's easier to get gasoline than it is, of course, electricity. Unfortunately, he has nothing left. But when he was able to watch it on his neighbor's camera, when the electric car caught fire, that fire causes a chemical reaction, a chain reaction. So that fire burned for days. And unfortunately, it pollutes. And most cases, you should be able to get your car insurance to cover the replacement of the vehicle. And this is when people really start to second guess, do I want an electric car, whether Gavin Newsom wants you to or not. And we do know that as President Trump comes into office on Monday, one of the first executive signings he's going to do is to remove the $7,500 tax credit as well as the mandate for electric cars. Although Gavin Newsom seems that he wants to fight that, you as a consumer might want to rethink what your choices are.
And there's also been a push to give us electric fire trucks as well. Fortunately, most of those are not electric now. Coming from all parts of the state and other states, in some cases across the country, to participate in this firefight. What about that? I know the city of Los Angeles has at least one electric fire truck that I've seen. I think they might have a couple now. But what about that?
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense at all. An electric fire truck, once you fill those tanks up with water, that battery won't be able to go far enough. They didn't have any water in the fire hydrants, as you know, and the reservoir. So there's other factors involved here. But from other states, such as Oregon and Washington State, they sent down fire trucks, but they were stopped and told they couldn't come down because they didn't meet the emission standards. Here's the deal. The fires are polluting. People are losing everything. Who cares at this point? We want to put the fires out and save people's lives. So, I mean, there's a point where there's too much regulation. Will they punish the mayor and the governor by removing them from office? I don't know. That's up to you as citizens. But I will tell you that it's gone too far. Having fire trucks that are electric doesn't make sense. Many of those fire trucks were down because they wouldn't let them maintain the gasoline and diesel fire trucks and equipment that they had, and they were sitting in yards. There's pictures of them, I'm sure, all over the news. You've seen them online. And using an electric fire truck is absurd. It's like electric military equipment. It doesn't make sense. And in this case, we've proven that it doesn't make sense.
Speaking of pictures, you probably saw that, I believe it's a 1977 Volkswagen bus that somehow survived the flames there in the Pacific Palisades. Isn't that something?
Well, that is something. I mean, I'm not going to put on my tinfoil hat, but much like in Maui, they said all the roofs that were blue, those homes didn't burn down. But this happens to be that same color, Tiffany box blue, little Volkswagen bus that didn't burn down. Very odd. I don't know what to think of it, but I'm open to hearing what people have to say. But I will tell you that it was very strange how some homes burned down, some didn't. Grass wasn't burned, trees weren't burned, and the temperature it takes to melt tires off of the wheels and melt the alloy wheels, we're talking at least 1,200 degrees. That's quite high temperatures. So it does throw some flags. We don't know what's going on. We probably may not ever know, but we do know that the destruction is horrifying. People lost everything, and this should never happen again.
Absolutely. Last but not least, Lauren Figwell, we have you on the line as people wait a long time to even get an insurance agent on the phone these days and try to get some resolution here. I know you've covered a lot of disaster situations where cars have been destroyed or damaged. Any other advice here for the folks wrestling with this horrible situation?
Well, again, it doesn't make sense necessarily to go out and look for a new car. A lot of dealerships also lost their vehicles, and there's going to be some price gouging whether you want it or not. Don't be afraid to go out of state, go to Nevada, go elsewhere to try and find a vehicle, maybe a used vehicle, until you can figure out what you're doing. Your insurance will be less, obviously, on a used vehicle. Keep the vehicle you have, get it maintained, and obviously you've got to try and figure out what to do with your budgets and your situation, whether you have insurance or not. But remember, if you did have a car and you lost a vehicle, not the house, but the vehicle, in a fire, your comprehensive insurance should cover that. That's part of what you pay for. That's why you keep that insurance year-round. But I also highly suggest that as your policy becomes due, that you shop around. There's a ton of different insurance agents. I know State Farm was one of them, but there's a lot of others. Shop around, find the best rates. Remember, your driving record as well as your credit rating are going to be impacted by that. And if you have young drivers, so do what you have to do to shop around and make sure you do have coverage for these type of situations.
Lauren Fix, thank you very much for that, once again, important information for the folks here in Southern California. Lauren Fix, editor-in-chief of Car Coach and the co-host of the Total Car Score podcast. Lauren, appreciate it, and look forward to speaking with you again very soon.
Thank you.
And out to the freeways we go now on 790 KBC. Mottek On Money continues here in 790 KBC, and prayers going out to the homeless here in Los Angeles' area. It's hard to believe the homeless situation in L.A. has only gotten worse now in this latest disaster, with thousands of homes burned to the ground in the Palisades and in the Altadena, Pasadena areas, as well as all the areas impacted by the firestorms over the past week or so. In addition to homes lost, thousands of people have lost their source of income. This is absolutely heartbreaking because businesses have been wiped out. The Union Rescue Mission in Los Angeles, the #1 homeless organization helping the homeless in L.A. with its Just Help One campaign underway, working to help the homeless and also organizing efforts to help the fire victims. And joining us live now is Richard Baker, the president of the Union Rescue Mission, which includes the main facility on Skid Row in downtown L.A., Angela's House in South Los Angeles, also Hope Gardens in the San Fernando Valley, which was impacted in the fire emergency last week. Richard Baker, thank you very much for taking the call here this afternoon.
Frank, thank you so much for giving me a few moments this afternoon. Thrilled to be with you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and our heart goes out to all those affected by this, and indeed more people have been left homeless, with the homeless numbers already at or near all-time highs here.
Oh, my goodness, Frank. We've been here helping those who've been unhoused for 130-plus years, and to add to this number is just devastating. And we've been here and are here and are ready to help in so many different ways. It's just been devastating to see the impacts of these fires, and our hearts and prayers go out to everyone. All of us know someone. All of us, many of us have been impacted ourselves. So it's just been a sad few weeks.
And it was a pretty horrific situation a week or so ago when Hope Gardens, the beautiful facility for homeless women, children, as well as seniors, had to be evacuated in the firestorm there in the Sylmar area. Tell us what happened there.
Yeah, sure. The Hearst fire. We got the calls, a few of us at a senior leadership role at evening of Tuesday, and many of us came up and just and stayed on vigil and really waited. And we didn't want to wake up and scare our kiddos. We've got about 300 moms and kids up at Hope Gardens, and it's just a stunning 71-acre facility, but always a threat when these fires come into the hills. And so by mid-morning, we realized that the power had been cut off and the flames had actually gotten a bit closer, and we decided to evacuate. It's just amazing. The teams rallied. Our transportation team rallied and brought 8 vehicles there, and we were able to get all 300 out all at one time. Brought them down, sadly, down to our facility in downtown, on Skid Row and on San Pedro, where we have the ability to accommodate up to 2,000 guests, and they've been with us for the last week. We really, not only was the power a concern, the power outage, but then the recent threat with the winds. So we kept them here, and it has been amazing to see the amount of volunteers that have been willing to come in, entertain these kiddos, help feed them. The amount of clothes and diapers and formula that have been donated, it's just been overwhelming, the amount of folks that have come out to help us. So during these times, we find that folks are really willing to move forward. Los Angeles loves its fellow Los Angeles, and so we're thrilled to be able to have them here helping us.
And speaking of that, at this critical time, when we're talking about women, children, seniors, homeless, the numbers are just absolutely astounding. What is the best way for people to help Union Rescue Mission at this time through the Just Help One campaign that I know it's underway, and the beautiful announcement we've been seeing with Angela Bassett on television as well? What's the best way people can help at this time? Yeah,
I appreciate that. So we quickly we brought our heads together and thought, how can we help? And, so we created an immediate way to respond, urm.org/fire relief. It's an opportunity to give anything, give any type of resource you might have. We'll take your food, canned items, donations of thrift items, diapers, formula. There's been a huge surge. We literally have had other missions across the country send us items, tractor trailer loads all the way from the East Coast of items to help out during this time. We've opened up our thrift stores in Covina and Whittier for anyone who's been impacted by this fire. They can shop for free, and we'll help you get the necessities back again together, not only clothing, but maybe kitchen items or appliances or whatever. We've also had some personal shopping going on. We've had requests. As you go to our urm.org fire relief, you click on the button and it'll give you an opportunity to tell us how we can pray for you or what is it that you need, and we'll be your personal shopper and try to get it out to you. So we've been trying to give back, as we always have, to those who are in need, those who are homeless, those who need resources. Of course, all of our facilities are open 24/7 for those who need a place to stay. We will accommodate in any manner you need, women, children, families. We have facilities in south of Los Angeles, north of Los Angeles, and certainly downtown. And we would welcome you to be our guest and let us figure out how to best take care of you.
On the air line with Richard Baker, the president of the Union Rescue Mission. Again, the website is urm.org to help or to get help in this fire emergency here. And certainly prayers went up there in Sylmar at Hope Gardens. I hope the facility survived the firestorm there. What's the latest on Hope Gardens?
Yes, thank you for asking. We've been blessed once again. We've been yet to be impacted by an actual fire, but we've had several evacuations. We just returned our women and children back to the mission. And so, and of course, they're thrilled to get back to their little bit of paradise. But the mission has been spared, but we could continue to use help. We realize during these crises that, our 50-year-old generators aren't working so well anymore. And so we really could use more resources towards that to be fixing those. We have a big campaign now. We're trying to get our fire suppression system updated and more cameras and more opportunities to secure the facility. So there are lots of opportunities, not only financially, but those who want to come out and volunteer, helping tutor our kids or helping fix up the facility. There's just a huge need constantly as we play host to 1,200 guests every single night.
God bless you, Richard. Thank you very much, Richard Baker, president of Union Rescue Mission. If you want to help, go to urm.org. Stay tuned now for the 790 KBC News Blitz here on 790 KBC.
Bravo TV star Lala Kent holds nothing back on the Give Them Lala podcast.
No, I have a very short fuse.
Get to know the TV personality.
I don't need to watch the show because I get the real life version.
From relationships and motherhood.
Let me tell you something about breastfeeding.
To business and beyond.
You are scared of failure, so it prevents you
from trying.
This is where we implement a big set of ovaries, and then we obsess.
Follow and listen on your favorite platform.